Good morning, everyone. So today in class, one of our class members is showing up with a little bit of low back pain, sacral pain. So I'm going to center the class around her. So I really don't have much of a plan other than the way her body's going to give feedback through the movement and use of the foam roller, possibly the lacrosse ball. If this class is worth posting, I will post it, which means that going along and experiencing the class with her might be helpful as far as getting a better deep dive into how I use assessment with movement around pain in order to help alleviate the pain, reduce the symptoms, and bring a little bit better balance into the body. So with all that, let's get started. Do you know a specific movement that is uncomfortable, such as doing a deep squat, bending over? Deep squat's probably a good place to start.
Deep squats are not anything I'm really able to do, but
So deep squat, don't let the word deep be too much. Like deep squat is just how far can you go?
okay.
Right? You know, if you can do a squat only to here, I'm mainly interested in what is the experience of the discomfort. Do you feel pain? If you don't feel it in a squat, then I want to find a movement that you experience the pain on, and we're going to use that as our primary assessment to see if we can get the pain to improve.
Okay.
And if it's not a squat, then we can look at something else. Probably get you in the shin box position will be a good one.
Okay.
And for everyone else, I suggest doing a little bit of just light squat. We can rock forward, backwards, heels to the ball of the foot. Kind of find where you feel dead center right through the middle of the foot with your balance. So you're evenly loaded through the forefoot and the heel. From here, just nice breath in. As you exhale, seeing how low are you able to go without falling forward, backwards, or without going into pain over a level 3. And if it's comfortable, do a few of them to really get a good sense of like how deep can you go. If it's not painful at your bottom of the squat, we can work on a nice deep breath in through the nose, out through the mouth. We can even get into our crocodile breathing a little bit with that deep squat. How does that feel, Jenny?
It feels okay. I feel it a little bit in my lower back, but it's not really painful. I'm just feel sensitive.
Okay. Well, sensitive, would you say slight discomfort?
Yes.
Okay. So that I'm going to put that as a pain yes. That's on the scale. So from 0 to 10, 0 being not painful, 10 being excruciating, where would you put it?
1.
Okay. So we'll use that as the last assessment to come back and see if we can clear that out to where it's not even a 1. Let's go ahead and drop down to the floor. And very slowly, we're going to get into our reverse sit, nice wide legs, and moving into each side shin box, nice and slowly. And see if you notice if one side feels a little bit more uncomfortable. It doesn't have to be elevated pain. And can you feel that tension in the low back? Can you feel a little bit of discomfort in the hips? And is it to one side more so than the other?
Are you asking for my feedback?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
It's all right.
I'm definitely feeling it more on the left side than the right.
Okay.
It would be a 1 also.
So let me be clear, since I can't see you at the moment. When my right knee is the arrow, this is my right side shin box. When my left knee is the arrow, it's my left side shin box. I'm assuming that when you said left side, you meant left hip, but is it left hip on the left side of the shin box, or is it the left hip on the right side of the shin box?
I have a
Or
hard time communicating this stuff. Um, I can feel it on my left hip throughout everything. You
okay,
know, I feel it when we're going, when I'm going from the, you know, being on my right knee all the way over to the, like I'm on my right knee now and I don't feel any pain. And then when I go to my left knee, it's more in the rotating that I feel the pain, and it's like in my right hip. Not to the level of my waist, but a little bit lower.
okay.
On the left side.
So when you're on the left, I heard you say right hip there. Was that when you're on the left side shin box, you're feeling it a little bit in the right hip?
I'm gonna get into the position that you're in right now.
Okay, so I'm on left side shin box.
Right. So I can feel it's so difficult because it's so mild, right? But I feel a pain in my left hip when I'm on my left side.
Okay. So now, like, if you could put a finger on it, you know, roughly where would you be touching? It can be like I'm touching straight through the front of the hip. I'm kind of like in the hip flexor region, or it could be more to the outside of the hip, or it could be to the back of the hip, the glute region. Out of those three areas, where would you point?
It's in the back, but it's not down in the glutes. It's up higher.
So kind of top of the sacrum into the low back a little bit?
Yes. Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
great. All right, so, and what would you put it at a scale of 0 to 10 right now?
1 to 2.
Okay. So let's start with kind of come to our nice V-sit. So spreading legs nice and wide, palms are grounded back down behind, spiraling the elbows out in order to spread the chest and lift the sternum up to the ceiling. We're actively reaching the knees down to the floor, like you're trying to touch the back of the knees, the knee pits to the floor, and we're actively pulling the dorsum of the foot, the top of the foot back, like you're trying to fold your foot back to your shin. How does this position feel?
It feels okay.
Anything that you're noticing on that left hip in this position?
Well, I'm aware of it, but
Okay. So like at the 0 to 1, you feel it a little bit more than the right side?
yes, most definitely.
Okay. So from here, we're going to do our little spirals, rotating the knee cap out in a way, and then rotating it in towards each other. Continue to actively pull the feet back, actively reach the knee pits down to the floor, and going nice and slow. And let's have our inhale as our feet come straight up to the ceiling. Exhale as we spiral inward or we spiral outward. So each time we're coming to center, we're inhaling. Exhale as you kind of squeeze into that rotation. And I want to really intentionally rotate from the kneecap and not reach from the foot. We're seeing how far can you spiral the knees out, and see if you can feel that as a stretch deeper up into the hip socket itself. And while you're doing this, kind of notice, how does it feel on the right hip compared to the left hip? In which direction do you feel it more? Do you feel it internally spiraling, or do you feel it outwardly spiraling more? And you may feel it in both. Both is also a good answer. And whenever you're ready to give some feedback, I'll take it.
I got lost. I'm sorry. Supposed
Okay.
to, is it like a relief of discomfort or
No,
a
just
more progressive?
what's the experience? What are you feeling? What do you notice that's different right side to left side, or they feel equal?
Well, they definitely don't feel equal,
Okay.
but there's not an increase of discomfort or a decrease of this discomfort. I'm just aware of, I'm just aware of an unbalance between my left and the right side.
Do you feel it more when you rotate out, or do you feel it more when you rotate your feet in?
There's no difference.
Okay, so it's just tight in both directions.
Yes.
All right, so let's go ahead and we're going to continue doing this. We're going to get our rotations. I want to turn this into some ankle circles. So as you're spiraling out, we're then pointing the toes lightly to start with. Keeping the toes pointed, we're spiraling the knees in and then pulling the foot back as we spiral back out. With each one, see if you can point the toes a little bit further. I want to avoid any kind of Charlie horse in the arch of the foot. So if you feel that, then kind of back off. If you're feeling okay with it, we can actually kind of point and grip the toes as you reach away. And then as you're bringing them back, try to spread the toes wide as you pull. Keep them spread as you rotate out, and then point and grip as you rotate in. And we'll do 5 or so in the one direction. And then we're going to reverse directions and do the same thing. So pointing and gripping as we spiral out, spreading as we pull back and spiral in. As we're doing this, can you kind of notice if the hip feels like that left hip, if it's kind of loosening up just a little bit through doing repetition of this? Even if it's a little bit of an improvement?
I would say that there's some improvement, yes.
Good, okay. So we're going to come back just to our starting position, keeping the dorsum of the foot pulled back, actively reaching the knees to the floor. We're going to if you're able, are you able to sit up on your sits bones without leaning back on your hands? Are you able to get up into this position a little bit, or is this difficult right now?
Yes, I am. No,
Okay.
I can be in this position.
So from here, we're going to breathe in. On the exhale, nice soft reaching both hands forward. Inhale, bringing hands back. I like to think here we're just a wave moving up a beach with our exhale. Inhale, we're receding. And each one, we're seeing if we can softly reach a little bit further. And while you're doing this with each reach, we're also noticing the hamstring, back of the knees, even the calves a little bit. Keep in mind, we're continuing to pull that foot back. We're actively reaching the knees down into the floor. Does it feel a little tighter on the right side or the left side, or is it about even? And you don't have to answer that just yet. We're going to start moving a little bit side to side. Not quite reaching to the foot, but just going at a little bit of an angle off center, going left to right. That should start to get a little bit more isolating stretch to one side, back of the leg, and then the other side, back of the leg. I also want to kind of notice into the low back. Do you feel any stretch in the low back as you reach your hands to the right? or do you feel it more when you reach your hands to the left? That's a question I'm going to go ahead and see if you have an answer for.
I do have an answer. When I'm going to the front, it's definitely started talking to me. And I feel the discomfort more when I'm going to the right.
And where do you feel the discomfort at?
Okay, so kind of like top to mid sacral area on as it is extending into my hip.
On the left side?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so let's come back into our shin box position. I'm on the left side shin box. Let's kind of go back and forth on this again. I want to see how, like, does it feel a little bit improved from the last time we were here? Or do you notice a little bit more distinctly? You might actually feel the discomfort in the back in that sacral area a little bit more. How's that feel?
When I'm okay on the left shin box is when my left knee is I'm more on my left leg. Is that okay?
You're doing great, by the way. I'm with you.
So I feel it definitely more when I'm on my left side.
Okay. And it's still
Like,
more in the back of the hip.
and I can elicit a much deeper stretch, like if I rotate my waist a little bit, like as if we're getting into handing the bread,
Right. Little rotation.
Yeah, I definitely I feel, I mean, it hurts, but it feels really good because I feel as though I'm stretching it out.
Okay. So that's when you're on the left side shin box, you're feeling this.
Well, like right now I'm on my right and I feel it as I stretch. I can feel it all the way into my groin.
Okay. Great. So let's start with that right side. So I'm in right side shin box. Let's right hand's coming down to support. We're going to spiral that elbow out. Feel that light spread of the chest lifting up of the sternum. And I want to start with just a little bit of light, lifting up that knee, opening it up to the ceiling. Inhale as we bring it back down. We'll do 5. Start slow and small. With each one, you're seeing if you can squeeze a little higher without forcing it. Inhale as you bring it down. Exhale as you lift and squeeze. I don't want to force it. I want to be soft with it. Does it allow a little bit more range on each one? And then we're going to bring that across and we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So left hand will be down, spiraling the elbow out, spread chest, lifting up the sternum, and then lifting up the right knee towards the ceiling. And the question I'll have is, do you have more range? Is your right hip more mobile? Are you able to open it up more? Does it feel less tight than the left side did?
Yes.
Okay. After 5 of those, let's bring it back to the right side. And now we're going to look at our reaching the hip bone forward, pivoting off that back of the left knee. So I'm reaching through that knee, allowing the hip to roll over the top. I don't want to add rotation to this. I'm just scooping that tailbone into it, seeing if we can feel some stretch through the front of the hip. Although you might feel it more in the inner thigh, groin, adductor area. So I'll be curious whether it's more front of the hip or more inner thigh that you feel this. And again, it's inhale as you're back, exhale as you scoop. And again, starting small and each one, seeing if you can scoop a little bit further without going into discomfort. where is it that you're feeling that on that left hip? Is it more front, or is it more adductor, or is it a little bit of both?
I think it's both.
Great.
I just feel everything is just so contracted inside.
Okay, so let's go ahead and come to the opposite side. We're going to do the same thing. Again, I like having it as a sense of comparison. So spiraling elbow out, open chest, lifting up the sternum. Exhale as we scoop. Inhale as we soften. Seeing if we can, again, I don't want to rotate through the shoulders. I just simply want to let that hip roll over the top as we scoop into it. And I'm going to ask that same question. Do you feel this more front, adductor space, or both?
I'm not feeling any discomfort on that side, Jesse.
Okay, excellent. So let's go ahead and pull out the foam roller.
Okay.
And we're going to work exclusively on the left hip. So we're going to start working on the TFL, the tensor fascia lata. We did this one. We're going to do two that we did on in our Tuesday class. So I want to set the foam roller on that bony prominence of the front of the hip. So if you can find that hip bone where it's nice and solid, that's a nice big bone, that's what we want to place on the foam roller. We're going to place the foam roller perpendicular with the body. We're getting into a soft, elbow knee plank, but I'm not like holding a hard plank. And we're just going to softly set the left hip bone on the foam roller. First thing is I want to make sure that this position is comfortable and not painful. So how is it positionally for you?
Not painful.
Great.
It's okay. It feels really good.
Okay. So now I want to bend the left knee or the left hip just a little bit in order to make a crease of the hip. Because I want to find this little crease. And we're going to slowly move the foam roller into that crease. So we're going from being on a bone into some soft musculature. It might be a little sensitive right off the bat, so I want to go into it slowly because I don't want to elevate pain beyond a level 3. If you're not finding anything that's sensitive in that crease, I want you to take a few nice deep breaths in through your nose, out through your mouth, and allow your... Go ahead.
Am I rolling like kind of onto my hip a little bit?
So I'm starting with the foam roller on the hip bone, right? We're on our elbow and knee plank, and we're slightly bending that left knee in order to find the crease. And then we're moving our body so that the foam roller comes down about 1 to 2 inches from the hip bone.
On the thigh.
So it doesn't have to go very far, but now all of a sudden you're on muscle, right?
Yeah.
Is that sensitive? Are you feeling a good spot there?
It is.
Okay, so if you're on a sensitive spot, I want to get about a 30 to 40% reduction in that spot. So I don't want to move on it. I want to just let it rest. Nice deep breaths in through the nose, out through the mouth. Imagine that muscle is melting butter. The foam roller is a hot knife, and with each exhale, see if you can just allow the butter to melt. It's my best analogy for it. I've been using it for years. Hopefully it's helpful. As it reduces by 30 to 40%, which might take 3-4 breaths, generally it takes 30 to 90 seconds to get a good reduction in that sensitivity. Once you start to feel that reduction, we can start to move rotate the hips. You can rotate your top hip up to about 45 degrees from the floor. Really, you can go all the way up to close to 90 degrees, and you're seeing if you can find the next sensitive spot, which more than likely everywhere you move is going to be more sensitive than the spot that just melted. So we can work 2 or 3 spots in this general area. So by rotating the hips, did that bring you, are you still still in good sensitive area?
I am.
Okay, were you able to feel some melting from the previous area?
Yes, I did, and I just kind of moved a little bit.
Doesn't, yeah, a little bit of movement, it doesn't take much. You got, you can think of like, we're working on threads. Your muscles are individual fibers. So each position you're getting into, you're basically pressing into very specific muscle fibers. As those muscle fibers soften and melt a little bit, we move, and then we're on a different orientation on different muscle fibers. So we kind of want to hit a few areas in there in order to kind of get some relief through as much of that muscle bundle as we possibly can. So as if you move up and you're still elevated, you get 30 to 40%, we can actually bring it back down and see if there's still more sensitive area. If you're finding that it's significantly softer and not as sensitive, we can move our body up or down about 1 inch in either direction. We don't need to go far. This is a pretty isolated, this is not a huge muscle that we're working on. And I would say at this point, whatever spot you're on currently, let's get a 30 to 40% reduction in that spot. And then we're going to change positions and get onto a different mut set area altogether.
Done. Okay.
Are you done with that last spot?
That was intense enough.
It's good. Well, if that was intense enough, let's go ahead and bring it back to our shin box real quick. So left side shin box, or sorry, right side shin box. Right hand is down, spiraling elbow out, open chest, lifting sternum. And we're going to come back into our scooping, that soft scoop. We're going to go a little slower, a little softer on the first couple. Exhale as you scoop. Inhale as you soften. And sorry, for everyone else in the class, I should have mentioned this as we got on the foam roller. Hopefully you kind of figured out that we worked this side that was tighter and more uncomfortable. So whatever you were experiencing on your assessment, I was hoping that you were working that side more so than the other side, or doing both sides evenly in order to have some balance is also a good call. So Jenny, as you're doing this scoop, any improvement? Or sorry, we didn't do scoop. I gave you scoop. So in scoop, does the scoop feel improved at all?
Definitely.
Okay, then let's also come back to our opening up of the knee, lifting it up towards the ceiling.
Definitely an improvement here as well.
Okay, let's go ahead and go to the do 5 on each side, and we're going to go to the left side. We're going to do the same thing with the right hip, scooping into it 5 and opening up that knee for 5. And then I want to go back and do the opposite side one more time. And hopefully as you come back to the right side the second time, it feels even a little bit more loose for both of these movements.
Yeah, it feels better.
Good. And then we're going to, once you've done 5 on that side, we're going to move to the left side shin box now. And now I want to get into our forward folds. Using the knee as an arrow, I want to start by placing both hands equidistant around the knee. I want to be even and press into the floor in order to square your chest as much as you can towards the floor. So if you're feeling more pressure on one hand, like your left hand, probably means that your right shoulder is rotated away. So I want to bring that pressure so that both hands are evenly grounded and you feel nice and square. Notice if you feel any tightness in the low back to start with. And then from here, we're going to reach the sternum through that arrow of the knee and see if we can reach both hands evenly. Back up so my hands don't disappear on the video. So I want to see if I can maintain that square chest, which means as I reach, if one hand goes further forward, that means I am now rotating. So I want to see if I can reach evenly on the exhale. Inhale, we're going to bring it all the way back up. Trying to keep the sternum square. Exhale, we're reaching both hands even. With each one, as you reach, see if you can reach a little further without going into pain or discomfort. Again, inhale on the way back. We're going to do 5 of these. Notice I'm going extraordinarily slowly on this. And on the last one, we're going to reach and we're going to hold and take some nice deep breaths from this position. From here, as you inhale into your crocodile breath, feel that breath move into your low back and allow it to slightly pull your hands back. On the exhale, we're reaching forward again. Inhale, inflate the low back into that crocodile breath. Exhale, reach a little further. And we'll do 3 to 5 breaths. And then we're going to bring it all the way up and go across to the right side. How did that feel? Did you feel some stretch in your glute? Did you feel stretch in your low back?
I felt stretch in both of those places, and it was difficult to maintain, equal. It was difficult not to rotate. Okay. And I realized that the reason why that is because of the tightness in my hip. So I slowed down and just focused more on keeping it even.
Okay, good, perfect. So let's do the same thing on the right side, starting with the hands equally around the knee, squaring up the chest as best that you can, and then reaching sternum into that knee, and then reaching both hands evenly as we exhale. Inhale, we're coming all the way back up. Exhale, reaching forward, and again, trying to maintain that nice even reach. Now I'm going to be curious, do you feel this more on your or less in your low back on this side?
I feel it less.
Okay. And then on the 5th one, we'll reach and we'll hold. Inhale into the low back, allowing the hands to soften a little bit. Exhale as we reach a little bit further. And each one we're seeing if we can lightly reach a little further without forcing it. And once you get 3 to 5, we're going to bring it all the way back across to that left side again. So you felt it more in the low back and in the hip on the left side, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so I want to get into this one a little bit more in order to really feel where. So do you feel it in the low back more than you did on the right side simply by squaring the shoulders, or is it more as you get into the reach? And do you feel it on the left side low back as you reach, or do you feel it on the right side low back?
That's a lot of questions.
So let's focus primarily on where you feel it in the low back. We're in left side shin box. Do you feel it in the left side low back, or do you feel it on the right side low back?
Left side.
Okay.
Everything is on the left side. My right side does not seem to feel tight or painful. It's
Okay.
all on it's either the left side hip or the left side sacrum or the left side. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like the left hip is just kind of stuck in a state of compression. And so we're going to see if we can get that loosened up a little bit. So we're going to pull out the foam roller again.
Okay.
This might be a little bit more of a tricky position to get into because we're going to get into our inverted sit. And then want to lift up the hips so that we're going to sit on the foam roller. So I want to place the foam roller right underneath the hips. I'm basically placing my sacrum on the foam roller. So I'm not like sitting on top of the roller here. I got the roller kind of broadly along the sacrum, but I want to feel supported. I want to make sure that this is not painful.
Okay.
Painful on the wrists or the shoulders or the back or where the foam roller is for that matter. How's this position?
That's okay.
Good. So now we're going to allow the hips and both knees are just going to lightly rock about 45 degrees to the side. The hips are going to go with because the knees are staying here. So you're going to be kind of on the left side edge of the sacrum. And that may be a little sensitive right off the bat. If it is, we're going to take some deep breaths and we'll come back to our melting butter and a hot knife. How's that feel so far?
It's sensitive, definitely, but
Okay.
I'm being patient with it.
Be patient with it. As you get a 30 to 40% reduction, we can move 1 to 2 inches above or below. You're probably going to want to work up towards the head first. And again, you're just moving to the next sensitive spot. If it's feeling like it's having trouble softening and melting, you can let your left leg straighten out and soften down so that you're taking all the tension out of that leg. Again, as long as this doesn't become uncomfortable on the wrists or the shoulders. I want to make sure that we're paying attention to wrists and shoulders as well. How's the pressure on this? Where are you at with the pain, discomfort on the pressure?
It's very uncomfortable.
Scale of 0 to...
I had to get off the roller.
Okay. So scale of 0 to 10, where would you put it?
I don't want to be a wimp, but probably a 5 to 6.
Okay. It's not being a wimp. That's just being honest with where you're at in the pain scale. All right. So
I can't do it again. I mean, maybe I just needed a break.
It may be that you were moving into it a little bit too far. So let me give you a little bit of voice to see if I can get you back. Don't get in on the foam roller just yet. Let me talk this out a little bit.
Okay.
So when we get into this position, when you got into this original position with the knee straight up, was it already painful? Or was it already overly sensitive on that left side?
Well,
or was it when we rotated?
I was okay in one spot. I mean, it was intense, but I was okay. But then as I went into another spot, it just, I got tired of it being so intense.
Okay.
So
well, I don't want the intensity to be above a 3. So in this starting position with both of my knees straight up,
yeah.
If this is already a little bit intense on that left side, then I kind of want it, as long as it's below a 3, then this might be where we start.
On the foam roller?
Yeah, on the foam roller.
Okay, hold on. I can do this.
Okay. So do you feel intensity on that left side just being in this position?
Not when I'm not when I'm evenly on my, just more on my sacrum, no.
Okay, so we're gonna move the hips, the knees towards the left, but I wanna be smaller in how far we go.
Okay,
Only go as far as you can, keeping the pain below, the discomfort below a level 3. If it gets above a level 3, then I want you to back off of it. So it may be that you only go like 5 degrees of a rotation here, like you're barely going anywhere, and that's fine.
okay.
And again, I'm looking for that 30 to 40% reduction. So instead of worrying about rotating further from whatever position we're in, now we can kind of work up or down along the sacrum. And again, I want to make sure that we keep it below that level 3. And if we get 2 or 3 areas that we're able to get that level, so think of a 30%. I want that level. I get on it, and it's up around 3, a level 3. But I breathe, take 2 or 3 breaths. By the time I get to that third breath, it's down to a level 1 or 1.5. At that point, I want to kind of move to the next spot. If it ramps up to a level 3, I want to do the same thing. Nice deep breaths. Feel it melt. See if I can get it down to a level 1. And if you can do that with 2 or 3 spots along the sacrum with the knees in this smaller angle, let me know. Kind of let me know what are you feeling a reduction in that discomfort currently?
I am feeling a reduction in the discomfort.
Okay,
And
so it's feeling a little bit more manageable.
Yes, yes. And I've been
How is it feeling on the shoulders and the wrists?
I'm getting a little tired.
Okay, so let's do our 2 or 3 spots, and then we'll come off the foam roller all together.
Okay.
So that way we give the shoulders and a wrist a rest. We might want to get on the foam roller again, but I don't want to overload it all on one time. And we're going to come back to on left side, shin box. Hands are evenly placed around the knee, squaring the chest, reaching the sternum through the knee, reaching both hands evenly. Doing 5 of these and seeing if we get a little bit more reach on each one. And I'm curious, how does it feel in the low back and the hip compared to the last time we did this? Or the
It's
previous
dramatically improved.
Dramatically improved. Excellent. So after doing 5 on this side, let's go ahead and go to the other side and do 5 on the other side as well. Get a nice exhale as we reach. Inhale as we come back up. Once you get 5, I want to come to the left side and do 5 more on the left side. And again, I want to stay soft with it, but with each one, we're seeing if we can get a little deeper into the reach without forcing it and without getting the pain elevated. And after 5 on this side, how's it feeling so far? Any pain?
No, I'm doing well. I'm just having to go really slow.
Going slow, great. Slow is the key here. So after 5 more on the left side, now I want to bring it back and forth, going from right side to left side. And as you're doing this, give me some feedback on what you're feeling left side compared to right side. As if we're starting off from the beginning. What are you feeling different? Is the left side feel tighter than the right side? Hip? And do you feel, what about in low back? So left side compared to right side for the hips, left side for the right, and the right side for the low back. How's that feeling?
I feel good on the right side, the lower back, sacrum, both feel good. I still feel a little bit of tightness and actually just more like I'm just really tired. On the left,
In the where on the left? Is it more in the hip or is it more in the low back? Or is it hard to say?
or it's more in the hip.
More in the hip? Okay.
Yeah.
Where do you feel it right currently in the hip? Is it still that back sacral area?
Yes.
Is it
A little
high
bit.
up in the sacrum, like, you know, kind of the top of the sacrum still?
It feels kind of like it's inside, you know.
More deep
I'm
in
not
the,
I'm not feeling it so much in the sacrum as it's in on the inside of the hip.
like deep in the glute or inside of the hip through the front? Like if you were to point, would it be pointing into the back or would you point through the front?
I would be pointing from into the front.
So, um, are we looking at front or adductor front, like getting into the groin area or front of the hip, top of the hip?
Um, I think probably the groin area. It's almost like the in the hip joint. It's like deep in the hip joint, in the ball and the socket. There's a tightness in there.
Okay.
I don't know whether that just seems kind of. I don't know.
So no,
That's
it's good. It's good information. That's going to get us. We're going to change our position and we're going to get into a different area on the foam roller. So we're going to come back to elbows and knees. And I got my hips on the floor at this point. This is foam rollers perpendicular with the body, and I want it up high at waist level, and even maybe a little bit above the waist. And we're going to bring the knee all the way up to that foam roller. I want the hip to be at 90 degrees or less. I don't want the hip to be open here, where the knee is kind of below the hip level. I want the knee at hip level or a little bit above hip level. And we're going to move the foam roller halfway up the thigh. So it's getting in, we're in that adductor space. And I'm kind of on my elbows. My chest is facing the floor. And I just want to allow that leg to soften on the foam roller. This might be a sensitive spot. How does it feel?
It feels okay.
Okay.
I might have. I mean, if I'm doing it correctly.
Is your hip roughly at 90 degrees and can you feel the foam roller pressing into your adductors?
Yes.
Perfect. So from here, we're just going to start with just nice deep breaths. Allow that leg to melt. You should feel a similar melting as you did when you were feeling that level 3 pain and it softened to a level 1 pain. But since it's not in pain, you're just going to feel it as a density of tissue that's going to melt into a little bit less density of tissue. And it probably is already doing that just in me talking. Does that jive with your experience?
Yes.
Okay, so we can now lightly extend your knee, like you're reaching your toes out straight to the side, and then softly letting the knee bend. Do a few of those. Notice if there's any kind of sensitivity in the pressure of the foam roller where it's at. I'm not lifting my leg off the foam roller. I'm kind of keeping it softly on the foam roller. And if that feels okay, as you reach and extend, you can rotate your foot like you're turning your toes down to the floor, and then rotate your foot like you're trying to turn your toes up towards the ceiling. And notice if there's any sensitivity in either of those directions with where the foam roller is at. How's that feel?
It feels okay.
Okay,
It feels as though I'm stretching something, that's for sure.
good. We'll let the knee bend. And now we're gonna move so that the foam roller goes a little bit up into the hip, a little higher up into up the thigh. And we're gonna do the exact same thing. Nice deep breaths. Allow your body to soften and relax. I'm not really holding my plank on my elbows tight. I'm actually allowing my arms to soften so I'm not like fatiguing my shoulders a whole lot. Main thing I'm focusing here on is this melting of the hip on the foam roller. This is one of those areas. I got a smaller diameter foam roller. I actually think one of the bigger diameter foam rollers is a little bit better for this particular area. I don't know what foam roller. I'm assuming. Do you have a black foam roller? Or one of the foam?
No, I have a huge foam roller. It's long and wide and.
Okay, so you're probably able to get pretty decent pressure with that then.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so we're gonna move. Are you finding an area, any sensitivity as you move that foam roller up the thigh?
Nothing that's yelling at me.
Okay, so
But
we're gonna go ahead and move that foam roller as deep up the hip socket as you comfortably can. So I'm getting all the way deep into the upper thigh. I'm still in the adductors, but I'm like right up against the hips. And I want to make sure that knee is still above hip level and not going down below hip level. So I want to keep it nice and high. How does that spot feel?
There's a limit to how close I can get the foam roller in before it hurts. So I'm just going to the point where it doesn't.
Okay. What kind of, is it feel like muscular pain or is it anatomical? Like, the way I like to describe this is I want to move that foam roller as far up the hips as God will let me go. Like God designed us with certain things that won't let us go any further. But that's a distinctly different type of pain than the sensitivity of pressing on muscle. So is it a different pain or is that a muscular pain?
It's a different pain.
Okay. How would you describe it?
Well, it's kind of sharp. I don't know
Okay.
what I don't know whether it's a different kind of connective tissue, or is it fascia or ligament? I don't really know. But it's a different pain.
Okay, can you get right on the edge of it without going into it? Can you get to it? Find an edge to it where it's right at the level 3 or below, and then can you breathe and feel it melt?
Okay, I'm working on it. Well, something let go because I'm able to tolerate it.
Okay, good. So get a few more breaths there. If you're able to move into it just a little bit further, then without it ramping up, go ahead and do that and see if you can get a little bit more melting, and then we're going to come back into our shin box position.
Okay.
How'd that feel?
Well, I'm not back in the shin box quite yet.
Okay, but you felt it melt?
Yeah, I did.
Excellent, good, okay.
Wow.
You all right?
Yeah, I just need to. That was intense. Okay. So you're on your right hip.
I'm on my right. I'm trying to remember what was the last position we were in before what you were feeling that in the adductor.
That was on the left side.
Okay, so we'll just kind of go back and forth through, were we doing, oh man, my brain. Were we doing folds? Going back and forth?
Yeah.
When you felt that in the adductor?
Yes.
Okay, so let's come back to that and see how that feels.
It's definitely less.
Good. Yeah, we were going back and forth between the shin box. So with going back and forth right side to left side, is that spot feels improved?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Yes, it does. It was improved.
Now, so let's come back and keep going back and forth, right side, left side of our folds. And again, coming back and reassessing, how does the right side feel compared to the left side? I want to feel hips and low back, right side to left side. Or do they feel relatively balanced? How's that feeling?
It's feeling better. I don't feel, I sometimes feel like that my left hip is like a piece of concrete, and I don't feel that way right now. There's a lot more give
All right, good.
in muscle. Yeah.
How about low back? Do you feel more tightness in the low back on one side compared to the other?
Little bit on the left side compared to the
Okay.
right. I don't believe that it's even at this point.
All right, so we're gonna hit one more spot. This spot's a little bit more, I wanna be even more cautious with this area. We're gonna work into our low back a little bit with the foam roller. So before you get into the position, let me kind of show it a little bit. I'm getting into a side sit on my elbow. I need to be comfortable and strong on the shoulder. So it's not a ton of weight because of the angle, but if the shoulders are sensitive, this can be a difficult position to get into. Foam roller is perpendicular with the body, and I'm sliding it underneath. I'm placing it below my rib cage and above the hip bone in that soft, meaty space where we generally put our hands for our crocodile breath is where I'm placing that foam roller. And I want to ease my body onto the foam roller to where I'm just lightly touching the foam roller with that side body space. I'm not putting all my weight on it. So I have to have some good stability in my shoulder, but I want to feel the foam roller lightly touching the side, my side body in that low back space. Are you able to get into this position, and is this position painful?
Okay, so I'm totally kind of oh God, how do I even describe this? I'm not leaning forward, I'm not leaning back. I'm just right on my side.
Correct.
Is that
correct?
I'm below my ribs.
Yeah. Don't want to be on the ribs, not even the 12th ribs. I want to stay off the ribs altogether in that soft space, which is all internal organs, which is part of the reason I don't want to put a lot of pressure on it. And from here, we're going to breathe into our crocodile breath. So I want to feel that expansion of the abdominal wall, that side wall, pressing into the foam roller on the inhale. On the exhale, we're drawing navel into spine. Inhale, we're filling up and expanding into the foam roller. As you exhale, you can allow a little bit more weight or a little bit more pressure into the foam roller as you soften, but I don't want it to be painful at all. I want this to stay really below a level 2. Okay, I want to be extra soft, extra sensitive. It's not going to take a lot of work here. How is this feeling so far? Are you feeling pressure, and does it feel comfortable and maybe even good? Or is it feel?
Well, I think the foam roller that I have is too large in diameter.
The largeness, the diameter, that should actually help you.
Oh, yeah.
It means you don't have, you should be able to get into it a little easier. Mine is so low, I got to get really low in order to get the pressure.
Okay.
So main thing is, are you able to get into the position? Are you able to feel that pressure?
Yes, I can feel that pressure.
Okay, so from here, we're very lightly and slowly going to rotate the top shoulder and hip back about 20 degrees so that we're a little bit more on the posterior wall. And we're going to do the same thing, breathing in, filling in and expanding into the foam roller on the inhale. Exhale, draw the navel into the spine and see if you can feel a little melting of that musculature around the wall. We're not, again, not a lot of pressure here. It doesn't need a lot of pressure. I want the pressure to be more from inhaling into the foam roller. As you inhale, that's what's kind of almost mashing that musculature into the roller. And as we exhale, we're just allowing that to soften a little bit. How does that feel?
It feels good.
Okay. So if you're able to, as you feel some melting there, if you're able to rotate a little bit further back and stay and still be comfortable and you're okay on the shoulder, we'll do one more set of breath filling in into that foam roller. Exhale, drawing navel into spine. And as you feel that melt 30 to 40%, and we're slowly going to come back up and recheck our folds, going side to side. We're just about done. How are you doing on time?
I'm doing okay today.
Okay, good.
I don't rush off to anything.
Good.
There's a lot more ease. It's a lot more ease on my left side.
Good. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's do, we're going to kind of go through all the shin box stuff a little bit, both sides. No, it doesn't need to be more than 3 to 5 reps of each one. So we got opening the knee up to the ceiling. And I would say do 2 or 3, just kind of assess on each side. This is just a little bit of like checking in to see, did we get good work? And also programming our neurology, like, oh, this is how I want my hips to function, so I need to program the neurology for this kind of hip function. As we get both sides, then we can scoop the tailbone forward, getting into the front of the hip. Again, it doesn't need to be a lot of reps, but we're just kind of continuing to check the difference between left side and right side. We didn't do this in the session, but we can also scoop and share our bread, get our rotation. If you're doing the reach and rotation, I'll be curious how that feels through the adductor, front of the hip, and low back on that left side. Especially as you're reaching especially when you're on the right side reaching with the left hand, how does that feel on that left hip?
Well, I'm aware of it, but it feels good, but I'm definitely aware of it. It's obvious that I've done work on it. I'll put it that way.
And then we'll finish with our folds. Once you go back and forth with folds, then we're going to come all the way back up to our standing position, and we're going to reassess that the depth of the squat. So as we get back into the squat to standing, again, I want to kind of rock forward, backwards, heels, toes, find dead center. Nice inhale, exhale as we Try to maintain that dead center through the arch of the foot, even load through the ball and the heels. And I'm curious, are you able to go a little further? And does it, well, first, does it feel better? Is it still at that level 1 to 2, or does that feel improved? And if it feels improved, are you able to get more range of motion?
It's definitely improved, and it's definitely more balanced. I feel as though I'm, you know, there's a balance between the left and the right side.
Okay. Is it
And
still feel,
What?
does it still feel painful?
No. No, it doesn't feel painful.
Excellent.